Okay, I think we're ready to go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to third week council of Hilary Term 2018. My name's Joe Inwood. I use he, him pronouns. And if everyone could just take their seats, please. That'd be great. Thank you. Sorry, guys, if you could just take your seats.
People at the front, please.
Okay, cool. So can I just ask, before you speak, please give your name, your college, and your pronouns. And there are a few items potentially a bit controversial on the agenda today. So just a general reminder to be friendly and courteous, as always, as I'm sure you all are in all your everyday interactions with everyone in this Student Union Council. So we're going to get started with the minutes of the previous meeting. Are there any issues arising from those? Seeing none, any matters arising from the minutes? So there are no elections in council, so we'll move on to reports from and questions to sabbatical trustees, executive officers, representatives of campaigns, and RAG.
Do you want to give them the mic? Oh.
Hello, Council. Goodness, it's full. Hi, I'm Tom. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm the Oxford SU Vice President of Charities and Community. So yes, the big update, I suppose, from the whole student union is that elections are about to happen for our jobs and for the roles of student trustee, and for NUS delegate as well. Hello. Yes, and there will be a contested C&C election for the first time in a couple of years. So either I've been inspiring enough to take this on, or people are desperate enough to get me out of this role that that it needs to be contested. Also, the RAG charity ballot is on. So vote for charities at the same time as everything else. Campaign for charities if you want to. So yes, from me, the Network of Refugee Advocates met the week before last, and it went well. We've got a lot of energy towards sort of helping refugees, and I think that's going to we're going to meet again quite soon. I think to sort of to work out a game plan there. Similarly, there will be a meeting in fourth week on the Friday, 2 p.m. To sort of the start or the restart of the Sweatshop Free campaign. So if you're concerned by sort of the university buying electronics from sweatshops, or you know someone who is, then tell them to come to that meeting and catch me afterwards, or email me, or whatever. Winter conference last Saturday went well. Thank you for everyone who came to that. Check your emails, anyone who did, for a bit of a kind of an evaluation form. That would be really useful to us if we can get that data. And yes, nothing else spectacular happening from me. A lot of things bubbling under. But a bike doctor still in fourth week. Please continue to publicise. Student volunteering, rating agency, and etc. etc. And Kate can't be here tonight, unfortunately, but she wants to say from me that rent negotiations training for JCR and MCR presidents are tomorrow at 6 to 7 p.m. at the Student Union. So come along to that and sign up on the website. Thanks.
Hi Council, I'm Farheen Ahmed, she, her pronouns. I'm the Vice President for Welfare and Equal Ops at the SU. So a couple of things have been happening in the last few weeks. There is a year abroad project happening to kind of support students who are going to be undertaking their year abroad in the next year. And that's going to be like an information session, and also like collecting testimonials and setting up Facebook groups for support during your year abroad. That's one of the projects I have going, so get in touch if you have any more information on what's going on with your students on the year abroad. As a second thing, tomorrow, on behalf of Kate as well, myself and Kate are running a Time to Talk Day session tomorrow with a canvas downstairs in our SU. So come along and like write something on the canvas, or have some tea and cake. It's going to be just a very chill session to try to talk about Time to Talk and what it means about mental health. The whole day is about supporting students and people around the country to speak about mental health and talk about it very openly in any place. They've done a load of fun videos about talking in the woods or in the swimming pool, so you can kind of get the vibe that you can talk about it anywhere. As a final thing, winter training conference also was really good for me. I've now gotten a bunch of feedback on the Prevent training session that happened with us. It was really interesting to get lots of you sending in the risk assessments and action plans. So if there is anyone who has had interactions with Prevent on their campus, please get in touch. That'd be really useful. But yeah, that's all from me.
Hi Council, I'm Catherine. I'm your Vice President, Access and Academic Affairs, and I use she, her pronouns. So I've been working with Tom on Nora. I've been working with Farheen on the Year Abroad project. Thank you to everyone that came to Winter Training Conference at the weekend. I ran the Engaging with the University section, as well as the writing papers stuff. Hopefully all of that will be going on our website, so whether you went to training conference or not and you want the resources, they will be going up there. On top of Time to Talk Day tomorrow, we will also be having a candidate self-care session for people running in the elections. So do come along to that if it's something that you're interested in. I've had quite a few committees this week. We've had Qualifications Subcommittee, Top Degrees Panel, Access Communications Working Group. Marianne and I are working on the University Continuation Charge response to their call for evidence tomorrow, as well as working on the NSS boycott mandate. We've been talking to people in the university, making it clear what our stance is and what Council have mandated us to do. And we are now working with the university to have meetings and find better feedback mechanisms than the NSS. So that's all happening, and we're also obviously working on the UCU strike, which is a motion later in Council today. I also have Katie's update. So she apologises for not being here because she is unwell. Her statement is, I regret that I'm unwell for Council this week, especially as I had to miss last week as well. Last week I worked reduced hours to try and curb feeling unwell, but I'm afraid I'm not quite better yet. Despite this, I have had a productive fortnight organising events to mark Sexual Abuse and Sexual Violence Awareness Week next week. Be sure to check out It Happens Here's Facebook page for more information about what's happening next week. I also ran Women's Officer Social Event earlier this week, which I hope everyone who came found useful. And I'm very excited to see what WOMCAM and the Women's Officers collaborating together can put together for International Women's Day in week 8. Any queries, please send an email. Really sorry again, and I hope to be better and back soon.
Hello everyone, my name is Marianne Melson. I'm the Vice President of Graduates and I use she, her pronouns. In the last few weeks, I have been spending quite a bit of time at the Ruskin School of Art, where I've been part of a department review. The actual content of the review is unfortunately confidential, but it's a really good chance for us to go through everything that has relevance for students, teaching, learning, assessment, the facilities, the funding opportunities, and I've been really impressed by the Ruskin School of Art. It's a part of the university I've never engaged with before, and it's really impressive what the students there are doing. In addition to that, I've been working on my Graduate Access project, which is one of my manifesto projects. Today, I met with the Deputy Head of Student Fees and Funding to discuss how we fund graduate studies and what we can do to improve the funding system for future generations of students. I think it's quite important that we start to consider how the funding system is helping students and how it's maybe not helping students. So I'm really excited to be working with Fees and Fundings to look at this. On the same project, I just wanted to note that on Monday, the Access rep from Pembroke, MCR, and I are going to host our first meeting of our Grad Access Working Group. If any of you are interested in Graduate Access and wonder what's going on, what's the data on this, is the university doing anything at all, please come along on Monday. If you can't come along on Monday, send me an email. Hopefully there'll be a second meeting where you can then join us.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions to the sabbatical officers? Okay, seeing absolutely none, we'll move on. So there's one item on the agenda below the line, which is the Class Act constitution change. Would anybody like to see this item discussed in any way, or it will pass without discussion? Okay, again, seeing nothing, we'll move on to item 1, which is funding for Oxford Mental Health Network, and this is being proposed by Thomas Jordan, so just invite him to make a speech.
Hi, I'm Thomas Jordan. I'm from Regent's Park College and I use he pronouns. So I started the Oxford Mental Health Network a couple of years ago with Kate Cole. Basically, it's something that we've started for both students and members of the general public. The idea is that we found this niche in mental health services, which is that there's very few places in the UK, but also in Oxfordshire in particular, where the many mental health resources that are out there aren't collated in one place. It's very difficult for people to find the resources that they need. Even within the university, it's difficult to know as a student what kind of resources are out there. There's so many different types of support groups, so many different types of counselling services, so many subcategories, and then when you throw in the general public as well, there are so many different things that you can access if you know how to get to them, but it's very difficult to do so. So we've been for a while doing lots of events that help people to find these sorts of things, but also finally are putting together this website, and we're doing a launch event later on in 6th week. It's being wonderfully put together by a student from Brasenose, a student from Balliol, and we've collated as many mental health resources across Oxfordshire as we can find into one place, and it's being coded so that you can find any resource that you want, personalised searches. It will come up with maps, so it's almost like it'll be presented almost like an Airbnb for mental health resources, so that you can see everything in one place and find exactly the kind of thing that you need. So we're looking for some funding to put on this event. We want to be able to advertise it to as many people as possible, hire a venue that can be public so that we can have vulnerable members of the public being able to come in and find the kind of resources that they'll want to find, and also hire an excellent public speaker, refreshments, etc., to make sure that we can attract people to come along. So that's what we want the money for today. Thank you.
Cool, thank you very much. I'll just invite you to stay at the front because someone might have questions. So this is to release up to £200, and Council's discretionary fund is currently £1,300. So does anyone have any short factual questions on the content of this motion?
Dane Rogers, Merton College, him. You've said you need £200. Do you know yet what the detail is of what you'd spend that on at all?
Yeah, so we would very much like to be able to do as much physical and online advertising as possible. As you know, that costs money. Even just printing costs is a lot. And plus we want to be able to have Facebook pay for Facebook promotion so that we can access in particular students and also people that aren't just friends of people on the committee. So, you know, if we were to try and publicise it on Facebook, it would only really reach our friends, and we want this to be a resource that can access the whole of Oxfordshire, not even just in Oxford. So we're going to be doing a massive advertising push to make sure this resource can reach as many people across the county, so that as students we're helping not just the students, but also members of the public, because I think that's an important part of what we should be doing as Oxford students. As well as that, you know, food and drink costs money, and unfortunately that's something that whatever kind of event you're putting on, sometimes you need to have at the event to make sure that people come. And that's kind of like a necessary evil, is that we need some money to pay for food as well. But the majority, like I say, will be going towards publicising this resource. Any excess money that we have left over would be going towards maintenance of the website and paying for domain names, things like that. Again, just part and parcel of what is necessary to make this thing happen, which we think will be a valuable resource to everyone who lives in Oxfordshire.
Well, any other questions? Okay, great. Is there any opposition to this motion? Okay, seeing absolutely none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to item 2. Prevent, which was proposed by Dominic Sequoia de Souza. If you'd like to make a speech. Oh, sorry, just before, I should mention this was an emergency motion that was submitted after the deadline of Thursday at 1 p.m. last week, but it was agreed that this would be put on the agenda as the issue in question arose after that deadline.
Is that better? Yeah. Dominic de Souza, Somerville College, pronouns he, him. You'll have to forgive me because I'm going to read off here because I want to ensure that I convey with clarity the nature and importance of the issue. So last Thursday, we were alerted to a fly sheet issued in the Oxford University Gazette, which contained a statement from the 4 elected members of the university's Prevent Steering Group, giving reasons for their resignation from the position. These members of the steering group were elected by the university's congregation to ensure that the Prevent duty is implemented in accordance with the university's existing statutory framework, such as the Education Act 1986, Education Reform Act 1988, Human Rights Act 1998, and the Equality Act 2010, to secure core academic freedoms and rights. Their resignation and the reasons they gave for it are a major cause for concern for us as students. Their statement shows that the collegiate university is not doing enough to protect our rights and freedoms, including freedom of expression, academic freedom, autonomy, confidentiality, privacy, freedom from discrimination, and fundamentally equal treatment under the law. These rights are vital because they go to the heart of what it means to be a university. Though the Prevent Steering Group was tasked with seeing that our approach is rights-based, it is now not at all clear that this approach has been implemented throughout the collegiate university, with serious problems being flagged. Cray, then, is rightly concerned about ignorance of what our basic rights and freedoms are and the impact this has on the day-to-day lives of students in Oxford. Cray is particularly worried after the evidence published in the Oxford Student Press of several cases showing the racism of Prevent against BME and Muslim students in particular. The resignation statement in the Gazette also noted that some colleges are using external training packages, which the Prevent Steering Group had reviewed, and found to directly contradict the agreed rights-based approach. We have seen from reports in national media that most of these trainings encourage racial, religious, cultural, and ideological profiling and encourage discrimination. In this motion, then, we're asking the Student Union to establish exactly what is going on across the collegiate university by finding out what each college's policies, risk assessment and action plans, annual reports, and trainings are. Ultimately, then, we need to discover how the collegiate university is actually implementing the Prevent duty so we can ensure it is upholding agreed policies and is not allowing Prevent to override our fundamental freedoms and indeed our rights as both citizens and students.
Thank you very much. Can we have any short and factual questions on the motion and the content of the motion? Yep, Tom at the front.
Hello. Tom Oxford, SU. Just a point of clarification, if anyone was wondering, Cray, the Campaign for Racial Awareness Cray, the Campaign for Racial Awareness and Equality, is an Oxford Student Union sponsored campaign.
I'll also just make a point of information here. In the agenda, you'll have seen on point 4, the word ensure has actually been replaced by the word lobby. That was a decision of steering committee, as this is something that the SU cannot ensure, but it can lobby on. That's a mistake on the agenda. So where, basically ensure has been replaced by lobby, where it occurs in Resolves 4. Any more short factual questions?
Thank you. You're Alexeo, Christchurch, he, him. Can you give some examples of Prevent curtailing our basic rights and freedoms? I just arrived to Oxford 4 months ago, so I'm not familiar what happened before.
I'm aware of one example. I can't remember unfortunately, the specific dates or the people involved that involved. In fact, it may be better for the seconder to answer this, if that would be easier.
Thank you for your question. Neha Shah, she, her, chair of Cray and also St Peter's College. Okay, there have been a number of incidents at Oxford. First of all, a professor here called Carmen Abulsi has written an article in the LRB, which I recommend you read, which goes through them, but I'll detail a couple right now. So an Oxford professor was asked to see an undergraduate who was failing behind in their work. Their student, a Muslim, explained that she had been suffering from depression and was being treated for it by her GP. The professor in question believed that the student's explanation placed her under an obligation to ask the student whether or not she was being radicalized. That was a result of prevent training that that tutor had received. Do you want me to? I'm very happy to go on if you'd like some more examples, but in the interest of time, maybe.
Yeah, maybe in the interest of time, that'd be great. Thank you. Fab. Any other short and factual questions on this motion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to ask, is there any opposition to this motion? So this motion passes unanimously. So finally, we're going to move to item for discussion number 1, UCU strike, as tabled on your agenda, and I'd invite the proposer of this, Catherine Canning, Oxford SU, to give a short introduction. Sure. Marianne instead, yeah.
I'm Marianne from Oxford SU. I use she, her pronouns. So we brought this item for discussion because I believe most of you by now will have heard that UCU, which is the University and Colleges Union, which is the union that many of the academics here in Oxford are organised in, have voted to strike. Just to kind of set the facts clear that we know by now. The strike is going to begin in 6th week, on the Thursday of 6th week this term. And it's going to be for 2 days in 6th week, for 3 days in 7th week, 4 days in 8th week, and 5 days in 9th week. And that's what's been announced so far. Obviously, the situation can change, but that's what we know at this point. I think what we've felt in the SU is that this is a topic where students have come to us with a lot of different impressions and a lot of different needs. It depends on the circumstances they find themselves in. And I think as an SU, we've both had people contacting us being like, what is going on? This is a huge problem for me. I am really worried about the impact on the teaching and learning. And then we have other students that are contacting us, urging us to encourage students to take quite a clear stance that we're supporting the strike and getting everybody to stand on the picket line with the academics. And as you can probably imagine, when we have a student body that have very different views like this, we think it's quite important that we in the sabbatical team are not just making a decision, but that we put this out for debate. So then we discussed in this sabbatical team whether we should bring a motion to this council, but we decided against that because we wanted to bring an item for discussion, and we're quite keen to hear what your thoughts are on this. But what we really want you to do is to go back to your common rooms or your campaigns or your divisions for the divisional reps that are here, and talk to your students before the next council in 5th week, where we will be bringing a motion about this. And I would like to note that the strike is scheduled for 6 weeks, so a council in 5th week would still allow us to take a stance on this before the strike begins. So what we have done so far from the SU and what we're kind of suggesting that we would do, but we welcome you to comment on these points. First of all, we would like a sabbatical team to sit down and write a letter for the Vice-Chancellor, the Registrar, and probably also a few other key stakeholders in the university. We haven't quite finished the list yet, but basically the people that have the power to negotiate on behalf of Oxford. And in that letter, we're going to tell them that representing the students, we believe that they need to get back to Universities UK, which is the organisation that is negotiating with UCU, and they need to bring something better.
Okay, that's the 3 minutes. Sorry to interrupt that. That's 3 minutes. So, do you want to just quickly sum up in very, very quickly?
Yeah, basically we're going to try and put pressure on the university to try and offer something better for the academics, because I think at the moment we understand why the academics are striking, and hopefully the university has the power to do something about this.
Thank you very much. Great. So I'll invite further points for discussion. Yep, just up there on the. And just a reminder, please give your name, college, and pronouns. Thanks.
Muireann Meehan Speed, St Anthony's College. I noticed in your introduction of the motion there, you talked about students versus academics, but there was no real inclusion of the graduate students who also teach as well, and who aren't necessarily just academics, but are also really impacted by the changes about pensions and are really, you know, a lot of the time treated really badly, and I think it's important to support those graduate students as well. And secondly, you talked about how in fifth week you think that we'd have enough time to kind of have a student union response, but that doesn't really give us enough time to campaign and organise, specifically if we're going to be asking students to support the strikes and what that means about their teaching and learning, and if there's maybe alternatives to ensure that both we support the strike and that teaching isn't really adversely affected in that way. So I think there are two important things to consider.
Okay, thank you. Can we have more points for discussion? I'm going to go to Catherine on the front row.
Hi, Catherine, she, her, Oxford SU. Thank you for that point. We do take that seriously. Postgrads are members both of the Student Union and the UCU if they are, you know, teaching while doing a DPhil, etc. And yes, we stand behind academics. I think we've said that in our statement. Like, we do want to support academics in this, and it isn't a case of students versus academics. But there is a lot of nuance when it comes to being a student at Oxford. We have people who are DPhils that are UCU members and Student Union members. We have people here on master's degrees that are here for 9 months, and this is going to be a sixth of their teaching. We have undergrads that have labs and have exams versus people that maybe don't have departmental teaching, so wouldn't see as much of an impact. Also, the point about mitigation is great, but that then kind of negates the point of a strike. And we completely understand that in order for a strike to be effective, it will have an impact, and then that forces the university to, you know, sit up and take notice. And we're trying to encourage the university to sit up and take notice before it even gets to that point. And that's something that we're really trying to balance out, because as much as we are supporting the academics and we're supporting our DPhils, we are a students' union, and with 23,000 people, that means lots and lots of different interests all at one time. And that's why we're bringing it to students for consultation, because we want to make sure that we see as many different views as possible, and it's not just the 6 sabbaticals that are taking decision to support the strike, or, well, we have supported the strike.
Great. Any more points for discussion? Just going to the very back row up there. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Hugo Rain, Cray, he, him. I think like a problem with this statement that a lot of people have is that when it talks about this action being regrettable, it places the interests of academics against those of students, right? Whereas it's quite clear to all of us that if we want any effective action to combat marketisation, fees, things like that, that requires students and academics to stand together. The UCU have traditionally understood this and have always stood with us in fighting against fees for bursaries and grants. It's in students' interest to have properly motivated academics. It's in students' interest to have a strong academics union. So I really don't think this statement should imply that anything about this is regrettable.
Okay, thank you very much. More points for discussion? Just go to the far left on the front row. Sorry to make you...
Hello. So I am a DPhil student who teaches, and therefore both a member of...
Sorry, could you give your name and your college and your pronouns? That'd be great. Thank you.
My name is Vanessa Orvaia. I'm from St. Cross College, and my pronouns are she and her. As I was saying, I'm a member both of AUSU and UCU. And even though I have to say this whole pension scheme change doesn't directly affect me, because I'm not very likely to get a pension in this scheme personally, however, I am still, I am kept in the loop as a member of UCU. And from my perspective, there is a problem with this statement that it basically starts from the middle of the story. It starts from the point where UCU has voted to strike, and doesn't really mention the reason for the strike, which is really quite. I mean, UCU is generally a pretty conservative union. They don't go on strike all the time. And the reason that they took such extreme measures this time is because they are under extreme attack. And I really think that people should be more informed. I don't know if I have enough time to actually go into the details, but
you have 2 more minutes.
Okay, in that case, I'll just say that, well, it's all online anyway. It's on the UCU website. Basically, they might be losing a huge percentage of their pensions, and they don't even know how much. But even conservative estimates can, even by the employer's own data, I think it's something like 20% pay cut on their pensions, which is a huge number. And okay, maybe actually it might even be more. But anyway, I really think that this is where this whole statement should start, because this is the crux of the issue. And lastly, I'd like to say that I think that we shouldn't be equivocal about this. We should be in solidarity with academics who are striking, because they have really been pushed to take this action. So yes, I also disagree with this paragraph that calls this action regrettable, and I really think that the onus should be put on the employers to I think it's the employers who should be negotiating, because UCU is already trying to achieve a better deal. Well, thanks.
Okay, great. Can we have further points for discussion? Just go on the end of the aisle on the 3rd row back.
Hi, my name's Rowan, she, her, Somerville. I just wanted to say, as a master's student, this is going to be a 1/6 of my teaching time, and that's totally fine, because the important thing here is that my academics that give me the education that I thrive off of every day are actually going to get paid and are going to be able to live the rest of their life. And I think that's a little bit more important than 4 lessons. You'll still be able to work at home. You can read your books, chill out. We should be unequivocally supporting, without any bits on the side, our academics, of which many of us are, by the way, as well. And you can be a UCU member as a master's student, and you should all join. And that's a thing we also haven't talked about. As a union, we should be encouraging our members to join UCU and get on the strike and get on the picket lines and be fighting for the people that we're in solidarity with every day. So I think this is a really weak response from Oxford SU, and it's a bit disappointing considering all the levels of solidarity that they've given us as UCU over the year, and we've given them. So I would like to see a much, much stronger proposal than this. Thanks.
Great. Any more points for discussion? Can we go to the front row? Yeah.
Just as a short point of clarification, Tom, he and Oxford SU, just a short point of clarification. Oxford SU did encourage DPhil students, and I think master's students as well, to join UCU during an October push that they were having. This is something that we do already.
Okay, great. More points for discussion. Can we go to the second to back row at the left? Yeah.
Oh, hi there, Simran, he, him, Balliol. I don't completely understand how all of this works. I'm not very experienced, but I'm just really concerned that we're just taking a straw poll now, because the strikes are in the 6th week, right? So surely we need to do something stronger now, or if anything, vote in support of this, while we still have time to organise in support of it, rather than just waiting until 5th week when everyone's tired and busy and only has a week left to do anything that could be meaningful or helpful.
Cool. Just a point of information, no motions were submitted on this issue before the deadline for this council. Can we go to the second row on the right-hand side?
Hello, hi, Lucas, he, him, Wadham College. I second that notion that it's quite late in 5th week, I mean, one of the reasons why the strikes are announced so far in advance is to add pressure onto Universities UK and as a negotiating position. So I think that our statement in support needs to come out as soon as possible to help add that pressure. And if a letter is written, that needs to be written as soon as possible to add in that pressure. I also think that the "it is regrettable" portion of the statement is a bit weak, and we should be regretting the action that the universities have taken in trying to shift the burden of pension and sustainment old age onto academics rather than pooling it collectively. I would also say on the list of things that we should do, as well as writing a letter, we should consider getting our students and the school officers in general attending picket lines and also using perhaps some of our discretionary budget to bring hot coffee and pastries to them.
Cool, thank you. Any more points of discussion? Can we go to the front row, just there?
Dane Rogers, Merton College, he, him. So I guess the first thing is people obviously want to discuss this and get a response. So it seems that the logical thing to do would be to hold an emergency council next week so we can get a response out faster rather than waiting till fifth week. I guess the other point to which maybe has less support in the room is in terms of the strikes, I think it's fair, perhaps we should put out a point that we think it's regrettable in the sense that the university is, I think, more to blame for this, but it's regrettable that the consequences, it inadvertently pits students against academics, and that we would support much more strongly if the academics were to go on a research strike, because that would really terrify the university if it was suddenly pausing its research. Although I could perhaps be totally misinformed, and maybe UCU is doing that anyway. So if I am misinformed, disregard that bit, please.
Any more points of discussion? Can we go to the far left? Yeah, please.
Max, Univ, he, him. I think we also need to consider the amount of risk that a lot of these academics are taking when they go out on strike, and so we should show some degree of solidarity in that regard. Another thing is that I think the statement as well is weak in that it almost has a quite kind of blinkered view of what this strike means. For a lot of academics, this is almost like the last chance to kind of hit at, you know, what is quite a significant assault on their pensions.
Any more points of discussion? Just behind the last speaker there.
Hello, thank you. The point that was made about the research strike is very good, because strike needs to have an impact, and if we, who are supposed to be the ones impacted on by not having our lectures, go out in solidarity with the lecturers, we are paradoxically depriving them of their striking power. So I believe we should suggest a form of a strike where we can show our solidarity, because eventually we will be in the same boat as they are, in a fashion that does not rob them of their impact, which should lead me to mention a few years ago the University of Ljubljana suffered a whole-scale occupation with the staff and the students saying screw the curriculum, screw the Bologna reform, and had a month of free university. Which is something I don't think we have seen in many, many decades, in this country at least.
Any more points of discussion? Just a back row up there, thanks.
Hi, I'm Kieran. I use she, her pronouns. I'm corpus. I just want to say something about workers' autonomy. I'm not sure that it's for us to sit here and pontificate about what sort of strike would be acceptable to us. We're not the people striking. This is a discussion about whether or not we are in solidarity with the people who teach us. Are we or are we not? It's not for us to sit here and decide what an acceptable strike would be and what it wouldn't be, right? The other thing is this thing about regret. Strikes aren't nice. They're last resorts, as the gentleman said down there. They're not your first response. They're not an attempt to arbitration. They're where you go when those things have not worked, right? So yes, okay, they're uncomfortable. No, we don't regret it. We don't regret the impact that it has on us. We shouldn't. Like this is almost intuitive to me. This discussion feels silly, but anyway, yeah.
Any more points of discussion? We're going to go to Marianne on the front row. Thanks.
Marianne, Oxford SU, she, her pronouns. I just wanted to clarify on the letter that I'm not suggesting that we wait until 5th week to write the letter. That was something we can do while the rest of you go and consult with your common rooms and campaigns and divisions. So yeah, we would not wait and do nothing for the next 2 weeks, but we would write a letter and other things as well.
Okay, more points of discussion. On the front row on this side, please.
I think we've perhaps got Sam Merton College, he, him. We've got perhaps slightly sidetracked from the point of actually, do we want to support UCU or not? And I think the sentiment was very clear, yes, we want to support them, that it's terrible that they've been pushed into the situation where they feel they have no alternative other than to strike. Equally, on the regret point, we can't just go to the university and say we think this strike is wonderful, because it clearly isn't. It's a strike. The point is that they're taking this level of aggressive action because they feel they have no alternative. And so actually what we need to say is that to the university that it's really terrible that they've let things get to this stage. That means that we do, I think, need to talk about the negative impact this has on students, because as people have picked up on, that's partly why a strike is effective, because it has a negative impact. So yes, stand in solidarity, but I don't think we want to make light of the negative impact that this will have.
Any more points of discussion? On the second row there, thanks.
Hi, just Nuna Tijani, DTC, and I use she, her pronouns. Just following up from the point that you just mentioned about the negative impact that this might have on students, I would also like, I'm pursuing a career in academia, and I feel like this is going to affect me in the long run. But I also have a GCR with half of the students are here for either a 9-month courses or a 1-year course, and this is going to contribute to a substantial part of their teaching. Yes, we can always make the point that, well, this is 4 weeks, you can always self-study, but I've been in strikes before, and sometimes they may take much longer, and we know that the last UCU strike went over and lasted for a couple of months. So I also think that these are important things to keep in mind. We don't know how long it's going to last. Yes, it's 4 weeks, but we also, like, things might change. So this is something we should also keep in mind, and this would have a really big impact on students, and yeah.
More points? The second row there.
Tom, Zagoria, he, him, St Anne's. Just to respond to the last couple of points briefly. I mean, clearly there are adverse effects, but we have to be clear if we're standing in solidarity that the adverse effects are being caused by the university not giving a reasonable pension plan to its own employees. If we're going to stand in solidarity, we have to be clear about what that means. And I'm not sure either. I mean, in terms of no motions having been brought to this council, we didn't really know what Oxford SU was going to do. Quite a lot of us assumed that Oxford SU were going to stand in solidarity with the UCU, because that's what had been done before, and so there wasn't a great deal of time. So I think if we had a longer time scale to bring a motion to this council, we would. As it is, I think it's reasonable, the call for an emergency meeting. Obviously, it's during an election week. However, if we had that, I mean, with just the one motion, I think that would be a reasonable thing to do. Can I propose that as a procedural motion?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Okay, so just to confirm, an extraordinary meeting of council has been proposed, and this requires a simple majority present and voting in council.
Could I, yeah. I mean, can I do a quick point of
hello.
information just to clarify?
Yes,
that,
go for it.
There wouldn't be a way to turn this into a motion now and amend it. Like, this would be the only means of getting this as a motion before
Sadly,
the next
there's no way. No,
okay.
that's the...
Thank you.
So the next slide will be a voting slide.
Okay, so order. The next slide will be a voting slide. There's a point of information there, or? So this has been called under Rule 13 in Rules of Council. It would take place on Wednesday at the earliest. It would take place at the earliest on Wednesday of 4th week, which is a week today, which is also an election week. Okay. Okay, the next slide will be for and against. A simple majority is required to pass either way. And you're voting for an extraordinary meeting of council, and you're voting against with, for with 1, against with 2, abstain is 0. Voting is opened. Okay, we're closing in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And that has passed with 57 votes to 11. So an extraordinary meeting of council will take place. So council now needs to clarify what the business of that meeting will be, because only one motion can be tabled for this extraordinary meeting of council. So would the original proposer of the extraordinary meeting like to elaborate?
Okay. To my understanding, there was an attempt at a motion to be submitted to this council, which steering committee rejected as it was an emergency motion. So I think that motion would be good as it was to support the strikes to have as the business for the emergency meeting.
Okay, so there was a motion submitted as an emergency motion that was rejected by steering committee on the basis that there wasn't sufficient evidence that it was an emergency. So the motion that was submitted and rejected will be tabled as the one motion for discussion at an extraordinary meeting of council in 4th week. Right, any other points on this?
Tiger, cats, she, her. I just from like a practical perspective, like I think it's a really debatable issue, and I think it's really important we get like the student body opinion on this. So like if we are having an emergency meeting next week, I'd just like really like to urge MCR and JCR presidents and reps to like get their students to do a poll or something, just so we have like some kind of representation, because whatever way they vote, the mandate for the student union will be stronger. So just like urge everyone to make sure they get students to actually share their opinions.
Just as a point of information, council can also vote to hold an all-student consultation, and that's something that also can pass with a simple majority. Any other points for debate on the item of discussion 1 UCU strike? The front row, yeah.
Maybe a point of clarification first. Could you, as a point of clarification, say whether we can vote to send approval or not of this statement to all student consultation, or am I missing the point slightly? I'm a bit confused by the technicalities here.
Yep, so it's we can either stick with the extraordinary meeting of council we've just voted for, or we can choose to move a all-student consultation as an alternative. I'm sorry, do you want to give Faheen the mic?
Okay, sorry, Faheen, Sheha, Oxford SU. I think Dane was asking whether or not the statement could go out to all student consultation, but like the question is about whether or not the stance on UCU would go out for consultation. That was the point that was being made, I think.
Well, it would be.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand over to Josh O'Connor, who is the Democratic Support Officer for Oxford SU.
So you've just voted to take a motion which was submitted to this council but was not added to the agenda by steering, and to take that to an extraordinary council. What you can do is you can move that, instead of having an extraordinary meeting of council, since you put emphasis on talking to your JCRs and your MCRs, and it seems that this is an important issue to everybody, you can take that to all student consultation and then take it to an extraordinary council, or you can take it to all student consultation and then have it come at fifth week council. You don't have to, I was just pointing out an option.
There's a point in the second to back row, just up there. Thank you.
Hi, Oliver Eagleton, Wadham College, he, him. I was just unclear whether this statement is going to be published before the extraordinary meeting, and if so, are there any practical amendations that can be discussed in this session to remove the regrettable clause and so on, or will it not be released until after next week?
Yeah, we're just going to got a point of information on the front row.
So Faheen, Oxford SU, she, her. The point of clarification is that this statement is already out, and sorry, a different version of this, the second half of it without the top bit, is on our website already. It's been published, but there is an FAQs page that hopefully better clarifies the position of solidarity, and actually that it is full solidarity, and it is the shades of solidarity that you've seen in various different ways throughout this council, that people have been talking about. There is no way to remove the. We are going to have a discussion tomorrow about changing the wording of this statement, and we will update that and put that up on our website, and will remove regrettable, because that seems to be a really majority opinion across the board. That will be a good idea. So just as a point of clarification, that's already out there, but we will be changing it.
We've got a point in the third row on the left-hand side.
Will Prescott, Univ, he. Just 2 points quickly. I'm very keen for this emergency meeting to take place in fifth week for a couple of reasons. One, I accept that time constraints are limited, but given that it would help to have a position more than a week in advance, I think it's particularly good to move ahead quickly. And given that this is an issue that is fairly frequently discussed, I'm pretty sure we can get word out quickly. The second thing is that fifth week council, and speaking rather selfishly as a grad, fifth week council is set aside for grad things, and I think it would be really good to have to be able to free up that space to discuss the grad issues, particularly as they are generally things that are neglected. And I think that because this is such a particularly pressing issue, it's probably going to require a significant chunk of a meeting, and a meeting on its own right is not a bad way to deal with that.
Just to clarify, the extraordinary meeting of council we've just approved will take place in fourth week.
Fourth week. Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, fourth week. That's what I meant.
And fifth week council will take place as normal. I'm just going to read the resolves of the motion that was proposed as an emergency motion and has now been approved for the agenda. There's no way of getting it on the screen, I'm afraid, but I'm just going to read the resolves. Sorry, I can't do much better than that. Resolves 1, to call on the university to oppose the pension reforms and meet with UCU representatives to determine the best way forward. Number 2, to mandate Oxford SU sabbatical officers to release a statement in full support of the UCU strike action and support organisation for the strike. Point 3, to mandate the VP graduates to email all graduate students to encourage membership of UCU. Point 4, to, by all means possible, encourage students to respect the strike by not crossing the picket lines and not attending classes over this period. This could include, but is not limited to, producing materials, including posters and leaflets, to help explain to students what is happening and why our staff need support. Point 5, to encourage students to join picket lines on strike days. Point 6, for future potential strikes, to take the above acts of solidarity, as outlined above in believes and notes, and resolves 4 and 5 as the default action and policy of Oxford SU. I can't read all of the believes and resolves, otherwise we'll be here all night, but this motion will be released as soon as possible in advance of the extraordinary meeting of council next week, which I'm sure we're all really looking forward to. Would anyone like to make any more points of discussion on the item tabled? Great. Seeing none, we turn to any other business. I have a point of business, actually, which I'm sure you're all here for, really, which is the council review, which is how to make this council more democratic, accountable and responsive. It was due to report in 5th week of this term at 5th week council. It will be reporting in 7th week, although we will have a short summary ready for you in 5th week. So stay tuned on that, and as ever, please get in touch if you have any comments or questions. Thank you very much. See you next week.